Join me down in the garage where I'm starting to strip down the onion. You can probably see, or might not just be able to see because it is a little bit dark in here, and I'm sorry, that the surface corrosion now started to take hold on a number of different bolts on the end of the steering rods here, on the bottom of the TCAs and everything else. So I'm just in the process of stripping it down so we can get it all powder coated. You might have spotted there just undoing the anti-roll bar linkage, left hand, right hand thread. Going to be stripping all this off just so we can get to what's underneath. I'm going to be stripping the whole underside of the car as well, which is supported, as you can probably see, and then just going through and re-wax oiling everything. You might be able to just about see there the floor pan, which has stripped a lot of the wax oil off over the time I've had the car. Had a bit of an engine oil leak, and that seems to have taken off most of the wax oil. So I'm going to have a proper go at that once I've got it all stripped down, and then we can send all the other bits off for powder coating. Right, so I've stripped off the brake caliper, I've undone most of the nuts and bolts and bits and pieces. It's actually quite late at night that I'm doing this now, so just in the interest of not disturbing my neighbours, I'm not going to hammer the bits and pieces apart, so you have to join me next time for that one. You can see though how the surface corrosion has really sort of taken hold, so on the drive shaft here, on the hub as well. These are all nicely painted. All this was all powder coated and painted before I got it, or rather I bought these new and they sort of powder coated them, should I say. These were all painted up when I restored the car the first time round, which is getting on for 10 years ago now. So yeah, it needs a bit of love. The coilovers were actually rebuilt not that long ago, but again the finish on it has suffered, so I think we'll take those out. We may strip those down, but certainly if not, we're going to give them a nice clean and a fresh coat of paint. You can still see the boot at the top there, how red that is, because it was all so recently refurbished, but the springs certainly don't look great. So yeah, I think a little bit of love here needed. So just in case you were interested, this is the brake assembly off the car. These are 300mm brakes, which came off a Jaguar X-Type, but Mondeo Mark IIIs are exactly the same. You can see they're quite a big old caliper and carrier assembly. In fact, you have to grind a bit off the caliper and carrier in order to make them fit under the 15s I had, but there was never more than, well, in fact, there was less than about 1 millimetre clearance. It was just a bit too tight for me. The new wheels that are going on as well just won't quite clear those, so we're going to swap to a Cosworth setup, which is quite a popular conversion for Ford Escorts and Orions. So we'll be doing that. There should be some clearance then for the wheel, and they should look nice behind. Right, well, you join me back down in the garage again. You can see behind me my collection of spent Jelly Belly air fresheners, which still smell pretty amazing. I have been working on the car just in between bits and pieces in the evenings, or when the boy's taking a nap on the weekends, and I thought I would just show you what I've been up to. The car is fundamentally stripped now at the front, as you can see. I've just clamped the brake hose off, but these are going to be replaced with some new braided flexes. I'm tempted as well to replace the actual brake lines themselves, but we'll see. There's a bus clip there that needs to be done as well. The steering track control arm here and the actual steerage linkage itself, those are just, well, rusty, and to be honest, it's so cheap you might as well just buy some new ones. So that's what I've done. And as you can see, it's ready to go. So I'm going to start cleaning everything down under here, and then I'll start re-wax welding everything. So there is definitely some work to be done under here. You will note that the master cylinder is leaking. You'll also see that there's a bit of overspray on the fan cowling. That's going to be coming out to be powder coated, as are the gearbox cradle and supports down there, which need to be done. The K&M banana is split. You see, I've just taped that up for the time being. But the plan is to replace this inlet with an upwards facing one, so I can run pipe work round to an airbox, which will sit just down here on the wing rather than having the K&N. So that'll be gone. And just a bit of tidying up really under here. It's not as smart and tidy as I'd like, although it's okay. It just needs a little bit of work to make it look a bit more factory to my eyes. What's next then? Well, I'm going to be dropping the fuel tank and dropping the exhaust so I can wax all behind those. I've also been taking a look at the rear trailing arms, the rear anti-roll bar and the rear drum setup, all of which are in better shape than the front, to be honest. But I'm kind of thinking, once I've got it in bits and I'm taking stuff apart, I might as well take a look at that and get that replaced too, or at least repowder coated, repainted as it needs to be. I'm wondering whether or not to switch to a rear disc setup. I've been offered a set of Cosworth calipers, so I can go for discs front and rear. However, these can be over braked, so if you do that, you tend to find the back end comes around. That is an issue. So bias valve in line, I'm just not sure whether I'll be doing this or not, but I think I'd be a fool not to take the calipers and decide what I'm going to do afterwards. In the meantime, things have been turning up, so I've been on a bit of a shopping spree. So if you come up with me a second, let's have a look. Right, no prizes for guessing which auction site some of these bits and pieces come from, but incredibly, some of them much cheaper than motor factors. So there's a pair of new steering arms here, obviously all coated, ready to go. I've got some wheel bolts to fit my new BBS rims, hopefully the right length and size. As an idiot, I overestimated how long I needed them to be. There's a pair of wheel bearings here, and inside here, what have we got? We have some track rod ends as well, so that'll all be nice and new. And then in here, now you may have remembered from the last video that I wasn't sure what I was going to be doing with the engine. I have decided to stick with a Z-Tech, so I've started collecting bits and pieces for that. So we have a nice breather here, which has a little baffle inside. That goes on the front of the block because my current engine is breathing a bit heavy and I wonder if I've broken it. And we're starting to collect some stainless bolts and bits and pieces for the likes of the rocker cover and the sump. So what spec am I going for the engine then? Well, in truth, most modern cars can run rings round an onion, so even something like a little 1 litre, 140 horsepower Fiesta is probably going to be a better drive. So I'm going to try and go for something that's smooth, something that delivers reliable power and just I can take out and enjoy as a bit of a GT car rather than an all-out racer this time round. What I intend to do is pull the black top I've got in the shed out and take a look over that and perhaps rebuild that one and pop it in under the bonnet. It's got a silver top at the moment, which I do quite like. It has a few extra bits and pieces on that I liked over the black top, but we'll see. I intend to make this look as factory as possible, so at the moment I'm on the hunt for an airbox that will bolt to the wing, a Ford airbox that looks like a standard engine with a standard intake, and just if you don't really know what you're looking at, I'd like people just to go, oh, okay, you haven't done anything to the car, and that would be ideal for me. In terms of management, well, I am looking at a max ECU. I've been having a chat with Ignition Advantages to see what they can do for me. They are able to produce a loom to the spec that I need for the car and then map the car afterwards as well. So that looks like it's got some potential to me. So that is the current basic plan for the moment. We'll see what happens from here, and I'm sure I will speak to you next time.